Hi, this is Bruce Buffer, your voice of the Octagon, and you're listening to MMA Mental.
Welcome to this week's MMA Mental podcast, which is sponsored by UK Fightwear and the UFC Live Facebook page. My name is Ray. You can follow our sponsors on Twitter at UKFW and at UFC_live. Also, check out the UFC Live Facebook page. It's got approximately 45,000 likes. It's definitely worth following. You can also follow us on Twitter at MMA Mental, and you can like our Facebook page as well, which is MMAmental.com. And we've also got a UFC Games page for anyone that likes a bit of fantasy MMA. Before we let you know who we've got on this week's show, we've got four great guests. Let's talk a little bit about our friends' show, our fellow podcasters. Two podcasts we'd like to shout out for you to check out is the MMA podcast and The Word on the Street. Jake hosts MMA podcast with Ramsey's hosting The Word on the Street. They'll sometimes work together on the shows as well, but definitely both worth checking out. Okay, we've got four guests on this week. We start the show with David Bond. David is a strength and conditioning coach, and he tells us a little bit of his background and why strength and conditioning is so important in MMA. Hopefully he'll be coming on and doing a regular slot with us, giving us different aspects of strength and conditioning. And he's worked with some great people in MMA and outside of MMA. And then we're joined by Paul the Titan Taylor. Paul gives us his side of the whole UCFC 6 debacle and why he decided not to fight. He also talks to us about facing top 10 UK Heavyweight Darren Towler for the UCMMA Title. And then we switch across to the US and we speak to Ryan Thomas. Ryan is preparing for XFC 25 as he continues to work his way up the ranks in the stacked XFC Welterweight division. He also talks about his fights on the UFC and Bellator. And then we end the show with Stephanie Eggink. Stephanie is a couple of weeks out from fighting for the first ever XFC Strawweight title. She tells us why she will win the title, and she also would like to be the first female to hold XFC belts in 2 weight classes. So I hope you enjoy those interviews. I'm now joined by David Bond. David is a strength and conditioning coach, and he's agreed to come on a regular slot, and he's going to give us updates and talk to us about different areas of strength and conditioning and how it can benefit the different people competing in mixed martial arts. But what we're going to get to do today, we're going to get to find out a little bit more about him. So, David, first of all, thank you for joining me today.
No, you're welcome. Glad to be here.
Well, I'd like to get find out a little bit about your background, and then we'll move on to the strength and conditioning. Now, I know that you used to do skeet clay shooting, so can you let us know what that is and how you got into that?
Yeah, I mean, anyone who was watching the Olympics 2012 would probably have seen a bit of publicity from Peter Wilson, who was doing Olympic trap. They won gold medal. Olympic trap's one of the Olympic disciplines. There's 3 within skeet, and there's 3 clay shooting disciplines within the Olympics, and Olympic skeet is one of the others. And all the guys out there I actually used to compete with who were in the Olympic skeet thing. So it was kind of a proud but also envious time watching the Olympics and seeing those guys competing and not being there. But yeah, it's basically Olympic sport. It involves the discipline I'm involved with involves clay targets flying through the air that we shoot from different stations as you go. I mean, it's a little bit more in depth than that, but the people who don't understand the sport, it'll kind of be probably a little bit wasted on. But it's kind of an interesting, in-depth sport.
Okay, let's talk a little bit about the strength and condition. Then I know that you've set up your own company, which is Potential Performance Limited. Do you want to tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, off the back of my shooting, I kind of found the fitness industry. So whilst I was clay shooting, I competed for the British team for a number of years. And I actually won the World Championships when I was 16, back in 2001. And I was actually whilst I was doing that, introduced to the world of sort of sports psychologists, nutritionists, and that world of it, and kind of gained a big interest. And off the back of that, kind of found the fitness industry and became a personal trainer. Sort of did the commercial gyms, personal trained in a number of different gyms, fitness managed gyms as well. And decided there was aspects of commercial gyms that I loved and things that perhaps I didn't like quite so much. So between myself and my business partner, David Chandler, we sort of set up Potential. It's trying to put the personal back into training and into our membership base as well, where we take people and we listen to them. We take on their views, their suggestions. Through every walks of the gym life, we try and meet their needs and their requirements, and if we can't meet them, then we'll feed back to them in an adult way why we can't. So we've basically tried to take a private members gym model and just kind of listen to people, make it a bit more grown up based, I suppose.
Okay, let's talk a little bit about the strength and conditioning then. What's got you into strength and conditioning?
Again, the strength and conditioning was probably the biggest thing that got me into that area was my sporting background. Sports was always, within personal training, you tend to find you go off and you qualify and you get into the industry, and then everyone tends to have their area that they specialise in, whether it's pre and postnatal, rehabilitation. Mine was always sports conditioning, strength and conditioning, and it's an area I'm still, I don't pretend to know everything. I'm far from it, but I'm continuing to do courses and developing, and also speaking to people, researching literature. And it's something that's just fascinated me. I always find that if you've got an area that you're fascinated in and you can keep learning from, it keeps you hungry for it. And strength and conditioning kind of does that for me, taking elements of things that you do in a gym that actually can make people better at their sport without them actually doing their sport. I think that's great. I think that's brilliant.
I know, obviously, you have people who compete in MMA. They obviously come and train with you for strength and conditioning. What are the benefits of doing strength and conditioning then for an MMA fighter?
I think the thing with strength and conditioning, I'm a massive believer in if you take two people in any sport that are evenly matched, the person who wins is the person who does that bit extra. I think with strength and conditioning, nutrition, all that kind of stuff, it gives you the edge. It makes you stronger than your opponent. It makes you faster. It makes you more powerful. It can also benefit you when it comes to sort of resisting force being put on you. But as well as those kind of obvious effects, you've got things like injury prevention. If you can prevent injuries because of the more sort of recovery side of it that we do, the flexibility side of it that we do, and also the structural soundness. When I train people, I look at the imbalances they're going to pick up through doing a specific sport, and I work around, well, if you're doing a lot of this, that might injure this part of the body, so let's look to counteract that a little bit without taking away from the sport, but let's look at preventing injuries. And in doing that means that their training time, the time they spend down at the fight gyms, is more productive as well, because they're not carrying niggles or they're carrying less of them. And it makes them an all-round better athlete. We're getting extra percentage out, and it's scientifically backed up. I mean, people look at strength and conditioning and highlight the strength a lot of the time. They look at strength or muscle mass, but it's not. It's a sports conditioning thing. We back up what the guys do when they're training, when they're fight training, doing their specific stuff. I train the fighters I work with. I make sure that they realise and they remember as well that their goals aren't with me. I'm there to complement what they do, not take away. So I make sure that when I'm training them, it's always, every time I'm thinking about their sport and what it is they're doing, as well as communicating with their coaches, the nutritionists, constantly to make sure that we're all singing off the same hymn sheet and the athlete is getting the most out of their body all of the time.
Who are some of the MMA athletes that train with you?
I'm fortunate enough to work with Kerry Hughes personally, recently gone pro MMA female fighter, fights out of BKK. But we also, at the centre, we also have Arnold Allen, who trains with one of our trainers. Again, massive up and coming prospect. I expect great things from him in the future, and stuff that he's already achieved is amazing. Sean Carter comes down as involved with the centre. Three big names within MMA that have come out of BKK as well. Who we work really closely with the guys down there. I'm really privileged to have sort of Steve Biley, who is one of the coaches down at BKK, who looks after a lot of the fighters down there. Coach me personally in MMA, but also I can pick his brains constantly on what the guys are doing. We're good friends because we can communicate on what the fighters are doing outside of the gym to make sure that they're achieving everything that happens within their training life we know about. We do their thinking for them when it comes to the gym, when it comes to their training, and it's great to have. It's that team behind the scenes that kind of can create the athlete. Obviously working alongside the hard work and the determination those guys put in as well.
Yeah, I know there's certainly some great athletes coming out of BKK.
Phenomenal gym. But the thing is, if you look at I'm fortunate enough to work with some of the coaches there, like including Steve, and also having been able to sort of do some sessions with some of the fighters as well. And their work ethic and the training that they do and what they put themselves through, it's not surprising. You know, people are sort of saying BKK has got we've got some great fights coming up, but it's not surprising when you look at the guys and how they train them and the people that train them. I mean, having Jack Mason as one of the lead, as the head coach down there is phenomenal. I know the guys, look up to him and go to him, and he supports them massively on a lot of their stuff.
Yeah, Jack Mason is fantastic. He's someone we've had on the show before as well. He's certainly an inspiration. He's certainly helping them to reach their goals. Let's talk a little bit about Colchester United Ladies. I know you played a big part in helping their football team before they folded with strength and conditioning, and that's then rolled out to other teams as well. Do you want to tell us a little bit about that?
Basically, like I said, I've got a passion for all sports, and I got involved probably about 2 or 3 years ago, maybe a bit longer now, with Colchester United Ladies. And at the time, I was doing a lot of research into strength and conditioning within sport, especially football, where at the time it was, in my opinion, probably being neglected a little bit. And had the opportunity to go into a female football team. They took a lot of the stuff. They were quite open-minded with what I was taking in. They took it on board, and I was able to trial a lot of stuff. We instigated a lot of things, including biosignature testing, which is a form of hormonal profiling. So what we do with a lot of the athletes, and we do it with the fighters as well, is we can take an athlete, we can profile them, and look at what hormones are out of balance within their body. We basically hormonally profile them, and looking at getting that extra 5-10% out of them by bringing any imbalances back into a line using nutrition, training, supplementation if necessary. So, we can use methods like that, and we found that really, really effective. Because rather than having generic eating plans, generic programs, generic everything for a squad of sort of 20 players or something like that, everyone was on individual things that were specific to them. So it meant that we could get 100% out of every single one of those players that we worked with. And then taking those kind of methods into an individual sport like MMA, it's worked great. I think that everyone was very, very sports focused when I first started working with the football squads. They were very focused on their sport. We need to just kick balls, we need to spend time on the pitch, which absolutely they need to do. But we noticed a big drop in injuries, big drop in people losing interest as well. When it's all one sport, people can do that, but they do lose interest. So being able to break up that kind of that intense training with something a bit different but also beneficial kind of worked really well as well for us. That worked great. And then basically because I started a new business, family commitments, I came away from doing the football stuff, and I put someone else in there doing it for me. It went really well. Unfortunately, due to financial reasons, I believe the club sort of ceased, I think, last year. But a lot of the players who have gone on to other teams now seem to be taking on board perhaps a lot of what we were doing 2 or 3 years ago and are now introducing it. So, however it's come about or whether it's been through me or not, it's just nice to see that actually they're embracing that aspect of it. So that's really, really, really rewarding to see that sports are developing and taking on board all aspects of, rather than having someone who like most coaches, most teams do have just a coach who seems to be, without trying to sound disrespectful, sort of a jack of all trades. They now appreciate where the expertise can be, rather than having people expert in their field to get the most out of everything.
Yeah, absolutely. I know there's been recently there was a guy come back who hadn't been competing for a while in MMA. He's a UK legend. He fought in the UFC. His name was Ian Freeman, and the one thing he said he never did when he was fighting years ago was strength and conditioning. And he made a comeback fight recently, and he said he couldn't believe how beneficial strength and conditioning was. So it just shows you how much it's come on in that short space of time, doesn't it?
Absolutely. I mean, and the great thing about strength and conditioning now is the quality of coaches that you have out there. I know, again, some of the guys out of BKK work with Will Whalen down in Chelmsford, and some of the articles I've read on that he's done have been brilliant, absolutely awesome stuff. And it's nice because it seems to be, I mean, when I work with athletes, I work really closely, especially fighters, I work really closely with them based on when their fights are, when they hit fight camp, and I phase all of their training, I phase it. So, and by phasing, I mean I'll take them through 5 phases up to their fight. we use straight after a fight. We do what we call our transitional phase of training, where I give them a little bit of time off to transition from one sort of program to the next. We'll take them straight into the anatomical adaptation phase, where we prep them ready to train again. Maximal strength phase to really kind of pack on the muscle. We then convert to conversion phase, where we convert that muscle that we put on into relevant muscle for the sport. And then we maintain. So in the lead up to the fight, we'll just maintain. We won't try and achieve massive amounts of results and changes in the lead to the fight, but we'll maintain those gains that we've got. And we've worked the fighters right the way through, to weight cuts as well. And it's great to see that rather than strength and conditioning is going down the way, we're actually, rather than just getting people coming into the gym and lifting weights for the sake of lifting weights because they've read in an article it's good to do, everything's very much more scientific now. Everything is backed up with knowledge, with research, with studies, and not only stuff that other people's done. I mean, when I work with people, I'm constantly researching, I'm constantly data capturing, constantly seeing what works, what doesn't work, so that I can then and using it for different people as well. It's great, the kind of data that we collect off the back of working with people, especially in when it comes to weight cuts and things like that, is really, really, really good, really interesting.
It's certainly come on a long way. Now, if we've got anyone who's listening and they'd like to find out more information, or they'd like to come and train with you at your gym, how can they contact you?
Well, we've got a team of about 10 trainers out of our place, all experts in different fields. So we've got experts in sports psychology, in sports physiotherapy. Yeah, we've got experts that can meet anyway. So any goals, whether it's if people are sort of just finding MMA for the first time and just want a bit of help, then we can help there. And also for professionals, we work a lot with professionals, so we can help there. I'm on Twitter. Loads of people come on, follow me on Twitter. It's at Dave_B_Potentia. Saying that, or anyone is always more than welcome to ping me an email. It's dave@potentiaperformance.co.uk. And yeah, we work with people all over the UK. We do a lot of online stuff, Skype, communication. People pop down and see us and go away with stuff. So it's not, we don't only work with people who come and see us, 2 or 3 times a week. We work, we'll help at whatever level we can.
So people can follow you then on Twitter, and they can, like you said, they can send you an email as well. Do you want to give out that email address again, so that make sure people have got that?
Yeah, it's Dave, D-A-V-E, at Potentia, which is P-O-T-E-N-T-I-A, performance.co.uk. So that's Dave at potentiaperformance.co.uk.
Well, it's been great having you on the show. We'd like to get you on then and do a regular slot, and you can come and give us different updates around different areas of strength and conditioning. So we'll certainly set that up for future.
Yeah, I'd love that. That'd be awesome.
And thank you very much for coming on to today's show.
Thanks a lot. I appreciate it.
I'm now joined by friend of the show, Paul the Titan Taylor. Paul, thanks for joining us today, mate.
Yeah, it's no problem, mate.
I know you're on holiday at the minute. You having a nice time?
Yeah, it's been really nice, really hot. Just what I needed, mate. Nice break from everything.
Yeah, you're in Spain, is that right?
Yeah, Mallorca.
Oh, Mallorca. Oh, lovely. I'm glad you're having a nice time. Well, I know you've had quite a lot going on recently, so I thought we'll hit some of the topics that everyone's discussing. So let's talk a little bit about UCFC. There's obviously quite a lot of drama at the event with the way the event went down, with the crowd, with the fighters not fighting, and I know you were one of the guys that didn't perform on the card. What actually happened then between you and UCFC?
Yeah, to be honest, I've been a bit down about it all since, and I'm gutted about the whole situation, really. But I've moved on and stuff. But basically, I turned up for my for the weigh-ins, and I was there for some time after while people, I was trying to sort out my hotel. So I was left there, and then when I finally got to my hotel, they didn't say anything to me, what was going to happen, but whatever. Anyway, the next morning I got up, went onto Facebook about 10:30, and I couldn't get the internet on my phone. So my brother rang down to reception, and he said, "Look, our internet's gone off." And they said, "Yeah, that's because you've only got one night on the room." So I thought, one night, that's no good. So I've rang Carl, texted from Carl in UCFC, and then he ended up ringing me, and he said, "Look, I'll sort something out." So I got alright then. So anyway, me and my brother went out the front,
awaiting for instructions on what to do next. I don't know, it was still 2 or 3 hours later. Still hasn't got in touch with me about anything, and I was there and I thought, well, I've got no contract to fight. That was another thing as well, sorry, I sort of forgot to tell you. I messaged him the day before weigh-ins, can I have my contract please? You've not sent me a contract out. You know, I need a contract to fight, to be insured and for what, you know, everything else. And to obviously sort out the finer details on what, you know, expenses and hotels and what have you. So up to that point, really, I wasn't really entitled to anything, to be quite honest with you, because I hadn't signed anything. So anyway, I messaged him at the, can you bring it to the weigh-ins, which I've got all the text messages on my phone and everything. So, you know, this is what I told the promoter. In case he wants to say I'm bullshitting or whatever, I've got everything I can show anybody. I sent a message to him saying, look, can you please bring my contract? He didn't bring it to the weigh-ins. Then I thought, this is a joke, this is. You know, I've been messaging the guy beforehand about this, trying to get it sorted. And then, on the day of my fight, I messaged him and I said, look, you know, I need my contract. Yeah, okay, we'll do it at the fight. But there I am, out on the streets now. I've been there 3 hours. You know, yeah, I wasn't throwing out the hotel like Carl made out that, you know, how can a heavyweight cage fighter, as he put it, be thrown out by you know, by one of these women who you know, works in reception. No, I wasn't thrown out, you're right. But I'm a gentleman, I'm not one of them arseholes that's going to stand there giving it you know, giving it to them. You know, they're just ladies at the end of the day. I'm not going to stand there and say I'm not moving. So I left the hotel as it was instructed by them. Yeah, so as I say, on the day I was hanging around for a good 3 hours. He didn't get in touch with me. I texted him. I said, look, what are you going to do about it? So one of my sponsors rang me and I said, look, you know, you know, just a normal phone. How you getting on? You ready for your fight? Blah, blah, blah. And I went, I'm fuming. I said, you know, I'm outside my hotel. I still haven't got a fight contract, so I don't even know where I stand. And, you know, I just don't know. And I said, my head's gone. I said, I should be lying back now on a bed like I normally am. You know, with music, you know, going around, sitting back, chilling out. And I just smelled a bit of a rat, to be honest. And with what Neil Grove had gone through and what other people in the past have gone through with the organisation, I just decided, you know what, I'm cutting my losses. And it wasn't because of the opponents or whatever people want to come out with. Because anybody who knows me knows I'll fight anybody, you know, with guys that I fought with Jeff Monson and 6'8" monsters, you know, and on UCMMA that's going to be aired up to my sports and everything, you know, and it's a much bigger deal than this was what I've done in the past. So, you know, all that crap, I wouldn't have done that. I'd be through everything just to pull out before the fight because of for whatever reasons. I had a perfectly valid reason. I was treated like crap. I didn't have a fight contract, and I'm not going to fight under them circumstances. I'm just not. And I used all my own money to get down there and to get back. And to be honest, you know, I mean, it wasn't nothing to do with the money because I'd already agreed the purse and everything. But I weighed it up at that as well, and I thought, you know what, I'm going to walk away with pennies here, and I've got no fight contract. That's if he does pay me. So anyway, I left, and I texted Carl about 20 minutes after I'd left. He just didn't even notice. He just ignored me. He just left me to it. And so I messaged him and said, look, I'm on my way now. I'm not fighting. I put the reasons why, which I've got the text message as well. Like he said to everybody that I just left, I didn't message him or whatever. I sent him a very detailed text message on why I went. It was for very valid reasons. And anyway, sure enough, he rang me, and I thought, you know what, I didn't want to talk to this guy because I was that pissed off, and you know, I just left it. I thought he's shown me no respect, so that was what he got back. You know, and so that was the UCFC Strawweight. You know, it's not what people think. You know, I'm not gonna. You know, that's why we should have to put up with that. You know, as after being treated well by all the other places where I thought, you know, that just didn't seem right to me. But what I found out, which is what a lot of think hardly any of them have got paid from that show.
Really?
You know, so yeah, honestly, and you know, I'm not going to say names, but I know for a fact, I don't think it's bullshit, that people haven't got paid from that show. I know that for a fact. You know, people that fought on there, even on the main card, you know, at the top of the bill, I know to this day they still haven't got paid. So, you know, so really, I think it was the right decision for me. You know, so that's it really. Right? I think just about covered everything.
Yeah, it's an absolute mess, isn't it? I mean, we've heard this going on before with, unfortunately, with other promotions in the UK and other promoters, and it's such a shame when this happens. I mean, I was at the event, and the event was good, but unfortunately, there was no crowd there, so they made no money off that event. It wasn't run properly.
Well, right. My family turned up. You know, they look, we want to see Ian fight. He's a good friend of yours. We want to see Ian fight. We're still so my few of my sponsors and my family came still, and I mean they paid £85 for meal, 2-course meal, and they got there and it was a finger buffet.
Oh, was it?
You know, it was a bloody mate. I was fuming. I was gutted because I couldn't even give him a refund or anything like that because it was all direct.
Yeah.
You know, and obviously they'd already handed the ticket anyway, so I couldn't do anything about it. But you know, when they hand over their money, I mean, you know, they're not rich people, my family. You know what I mean? They're just normal working people who struggle to buy a ticket like anybody else. So I thought, oh, you know, we'll do the £85 one, and you know, we'll do this sort of thing. But yeah, there was they had a finger buffet, then there was released into the normal £50 tickets section. You know, it's not good enough. And then Professor Green never sang.
No, he didn't sing, no.
You know, it's not just me, right? I'm not an arsehole.
I was at the event as well. I saw it for myself. I mean, I was there as well. It was.
I mean, it is a shame. You know, you have got to think what the lads done. You know, they did try and be, you know, a bit different and try to go massive with the show. But it is a shame it never worked out. I do feel sorry for them because they probably owe out a lot of money still for it. But you know, I think the very least they should have done is cut the fight money, the fighters' money put to one side in case it did go to, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, so that, I mean, now, right, they're giving, you know, I can't really talk about it because I'm not one of the fighters. I mean, that makes me look bad, but, you know, I just know for a fact that, you know, they're giving one excuse about some money not being released, and that's it. That, you know, that's all they're saying. Oh, it's not getting money because of this money hasn't been released from Ticketmaster or something. So, but again, that's something to do with it. You know, that's something I don't really want to talk about really, but that's what I've heard.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I'm told by people that, you know, that fought and not got paid. So
yeah,
really, mate.
It's a real shame, but we've got much more positive stuff going on now. You're going to be fighting for a title, so let's talk a little bit about how this has all come about, who you're facing, where you're fighting, and how this situations came about. Yeah,
I'm fighting at the Troxy on the 13th of November on the UCMMA show for their heavyweight title against Darren Towler. Basically, after my fight, I just thought, you know, well, the fight that never happened. I thought, where do I go from here? You know, and you know, I've got a family to feed. I mean, you know, I was you know, I'll be honest, I was relying on the money as well to come away on holiday. So it was, you know, I left there thinking, really, I've got my holiday money and stuff like that to get, you know, which I've had out with. But you know, I just thought I've got to fight now. I've got to fight, do something here now to help my career. Because what happened, there was a lot of negativity because people didn't know the full story. And you know, the promoter saying a lot of crap and stuff. So I just thought, right, I think you know, I asked Dave O'Donnell. I said, look, am I entitled to the title shot still, like they told me? When I won them 3 fights on their promotion. And he said, of course. He said, but you won't fight Darren. And I said, well, look, I'm going to have to do it because my career's not going anywhere. You know, people are saying I've got sort of business and that, but how the hell am I going to get to where I've got to get to if I'm not going to fight certain people? So, because there isn't really a lot of people to fight. There's not really loads and loads of heavyweights. So it was sort of holding me back a bit, really. I just thought, right, so I said to Dave, I said, look, contact Ian Freeman first and just tell him that I'll fight Darren. And that's the way it come about, really. There's no reasons or anything going on between us. You know, it's just one of them things. I just thought, you know, I just want to better my career. You know, at the end of the day, that's what it's about. It's a sport, and that's it. You know, I'm sure that me and Darren, after the fight, and hopefully Ian, you know, at the end of it, we'll just win, you know, win, lose or draw. We'll just shake hands and have a hug and a beer after. And that, you know, that's the way it should be at the end of the day. You know.
I know we've spoken in the past, and you've said to me on and off air that you need to start fighting up now. You need to face top people in your division, top 10 people, and obviously that's what Darren is. And the fight makes a lot of sense for you for your career. It's going to be a very, very tough fight for both of you.
Yeah, I mean it does, Ray. I mean, I've tried to get fights with people in that top 10, but the thing is, which I don't blame them. You know, they're like, well, we only want to fight better people than us because they want to keep bettering themselves.
Yeah.
You know, but in the case with the UCMMA belts, I've sort of, you know, proved myself on that show. Really, three fights, 3 first round finishes, and you know, sort of, I'm next in line if you like for the title. So. Why not go? You know, that's what I'm saying. For me to get a fight in that top 10, I don't think many people can do it. So this is my route into the top 10, and then hopefully then people will come to me. Then people will come and fight me on UCMMA and want that title. So this is what I'm thinking. I'm thinking beyond Darren. If I get that belt, then I'll get people coming to fight me. You know. And obviously, if you're the top 10 fighter, which obviously to beat Darren, then I'll go straight to the top in the top 10, and it's going to be big for me. And also to have that title, because it's one of the biggest titles in the UK. So
yeah, the fight definitely makes sense. I'm glad you've come on and cleared things up because, like I said, there's no bad blood between you and Darren, and the whole UCFC thing debacle. That wasn't your fault. It was quite a few people that were affected by it. So it's good for you to be able to get your side across.
Yeah, well, look, I mean, I wasn't going to say anything about the incident on UCFC. I was just going to leave it. But you know what? You know, I've been stuff on Facebook that has tried to tarnish my name and my nature, saying, "Oh, he's not this and he's not that." But with me, what is what you get. At the end of the day, I'm not a mug. I might be a nice guy, but I'm not a mug. I'm not going to go and you know be treated like an idiot. It's not, you know, it's nothing, you know. So. You know, I'm glad that you know, UCFC might have, hopefully, you know, might not have a problem with, but that's my side. That's my side, and that's the truth. I'm not coming on here lying. You know, and as I say, I'm not here to carry things on. It's just that's my side across now, and for me, that's the end of it. You know, so.
Time to move on now. As I say, you've got bigger fish to fry now.
Definitely, mate. Definitely.
Well, it's been great having you back on the show. I know we'll be having you on again in the future. Obviously, we'll probably talk to you in the build-up to the fight as well. We wish you all the luck with the fight, and enjoy the rest of your holiday, Paul.
Yeah, cheers, mate. Thanks for dealing with that, mate.
Okay, I'm now joined by Ryan Thomas. Ryan Thomas will be fighting XFC 25 on the 6th of September against Ian Stevens. Ryan, thank you very much for joining me today.
Hey, thanks for having me, you guys.
Absolute pleasure. I know you've got a big fight coming up soon, but you're a very experienced fighter. I wanted to get a little bit of your background first, let our listeners know a bit more about you. So how long have you been fighting professionally for?
I've been fighting professionally for about, I think, close to 7 years. It's probably been about 7 years now.
And what made you want to get into mixed martial arts?
Well, I had a good wrestling background. I wrestled ever since I was a little kid all the way up to college. I wrestled 3 years in college, and then after my 3rd year of college wrestling, they cut my wrestling program and got rid of it, so I couldn't wrestle anymore. And some of my teammates and my coach was on my wrestling team. They were doing the mixed martial arts, so I started training with them, and I got hooked, and I loved it, and I've been doing it ever since.
What was the transition like going from wrestling to mixed martial arts?
I transitioned pretty well. I didn't really know what I was doing like for the first month or so, but I started off with jiu-jitsu. I did jiu-jitsu for maybe 2 months, and then I started to pick up the striking. But I don't know, some wrestlers seem like they pick it up really well, and then some wrestlers have a hard time with it. But I just made the switch relatively easily, and I'm just doing real well and plan on kicking more ass here in the future.
Yeah, I mean, your record speaks for itself. You've got 16 wins, all by stoppage, with 6 TKOs and 10 submissions. So you've certainly adapted well. So you obviously started, like you say, you started fighting about 7 years ago. Now, looking over your resume, you've fought for some of the biggest promotions in the world. What were your experiences like fighting in the UFC?
It was cool. It was definitely a dream come true. Looking back now, I think I maybe got there a little bit too soon. I probably should have got a little bit more experience, but they called me up on 12 days notice and asked me to take a fight because somebody had got hurt, and I there's no way I could turn down that offer, because if I would have turned it down, maybe I would have never made it there. So I definitely seized the opportunity, and it didn't turn out for me. I lost by arm bars both my fights in the UFC, but I'm hopefully going to end up there again before it's all said and done, get another chance. But right now I'm happy where I'm at. I'm still growing as a fighter, but I think I'm going to end up there one day again, and I'll be able to redeem myself.
Absolutely.
But I was only I think I was only 23 years old or 22 or 23 or something like that when I was in the UFC. I was just still learning. It was just kind of early for me. And I was still in college. I wasn't. I was just training a little bit after my classes and stuff. I wasn't at a real big gym. I didn't have real good training partners to push me and stuff. But now I'm at American Top Team, and I've got much better at all aspects since then.
I think it's fair to say as well, they pretty much chucked you in at the deep end. I mean, normally you might get a tune-up fight against another up-and-coming fighter, but you've gone straight in and faced two pretty, well-known names in Ben Saunders and Matt Brown. What are your experiences like with Bellator Fighting Championship? Because we've seen them do well in the last few years. What was your experiences like with them?
They treated me real good too. I mean, my first fight with them, I fought Ben Askren, who's he's been undefeated ever since then. But the first fight was real controversial. The referee made a mistake, and he thought that I went unconscious in the fight, and I did not go unconscious. It wasn't even choking me. It was just kind of a neck crank, and I didn't tap out. I didn't pass out or anything, and the referee messed up, and he didn't lift my hand up or anything to see if I was still awake, and he just stopped the fight. So that was kind of a bad deal, but Bellator was really cool about it, and they had us. They brought me. That was in the season 2 tournament, and then they let me jump back into the tournament to fight a different guy a week later, because he was supposed to. They had let me fight Jacob McClintock, because Jacob McClintock was supposed to fight Jim Wallhead, but Jim Wallhead couldn't come over from England because there was a volcano that erupted. I don't know if you guys remember that. There was a bunch of ash clouds and stuff, and his plane couldn't come over here. So they let me jump back in the tournament to fight, to fill in for Jim Wallhead and fight Jacob McClintock. And I beat Jacob McClintock in the first round with TKO, from ground and pound and strikes. And then I got my rematch with Askren, but his wrestling was just too much for me. He just kind of smothered me like he did everyone. But I mean, Bellator treated me good. I'm still glad that I had the opportunity to fight for them, and they let me back in the tournament and everything. After the mistake was made, they didn't have to do that. So I mean, they were cool too.
Yeah, that's
really good experience with everyone I fought for.
Yeah, that was certainly the right thing to do. I mean, obviously it was circumstances with the ash cloud, but at least they did the right thing and give you a chance to redeem yourself. Now you're currently on a 4-fight win streak, with 2 of those fights in XFC against John Koloski and Corey Hill. What were your thoughts about facing those two guys? Again, they're both quite well known. They've both fought in the UFC from the Ultimate Fighter. How did you feel about facing them two?
I was really excited to fight two guys that were in the UFC and Ultimate Fighters, because you get a lot of recognition and notoriety when you fight guys like that, especially when it's under the XFC banner, because you know they're going to promote the fight the way it should be. But yeah, it was big opportunities for me. I wanted to help get my name out there a little bit more and show people that I'm not just the guy that lost in the UFC and got beat out in the Bellator tournament by Askren. I wanted to come back and show people what I'm all about and how I've improved, because after I lost in the Bellator tournament, I moved down to American Top Team. I've been down here for 3 years now, and I've made some big changes. I'm just a much more dangerous fighter. I don't have any holes in my game anymore, and yeah, I'm looking forward to this next fight. But I mean, it's only 3 weeks away. I can't wait.
Yeah, you talked there about American Top Team. What made you want to move and train now? I mean, obviously they are one of the more well-known camps. What made you want to get? What made you? What was the final reason to make that decision to go and train with a camp like that?
Well, I had just lost in the tournament for Bellator season 2, and one of my buddies, Dan Hornbuckle, he's from the same area as me. We trained together in Illinois. He had come down here, and he was always telling me how awesome it was. And where I was training at in Illinois, it was just little bitty hole in the wall gyms. Like there'd be I'd go over to my jiu-jitsu coach's house, and there'd only be like a couple of us there to train. And my coach was a lot bigger than me, so I didn't really have the best training partners for jiu-jitsu. And then my Muay Thai coach is very, very good, but I'd have to drive like an hour and a half to go train with him, and there wasn't really that good of guys for me to spar with. And if I wanted to get really good sparring rounds, I would have to drive to Indianapolis, Indiana, which was like 2 hours, or I'd have to drive to Chicago, which was like 2.5 hours. So just making those trips to Chicago and Indianapolis every weekend and driving one way, because my jiu-jitsu gym and my Muay Thai gym, they were like not close to my house. I had to drive, and it was just too much. I was just driving too much, and it was taking away from my training. So I moved down here to American Top Team after Hornbuckle was telling me how awesome it was, and I just fell in love with it down here. There's so many black belts down here. Every single guy that you train with is a monster. I mean, there's so many beasts. Like when I would train at my old gym, I might have like one really hard sparring round, but then I would have a couple rounds where I'd be training against amateurs or something, or somebody that doesn't even fight. And then I might have another hard round, and I'd have some easy rounds. But here, every single round, you're fighting like a very, very tough guy, like XFC guys, UFC guys, Bellator guys. It's just, they say iron sharpens iron, or steel sharpens steel, and that's what we do down here. It's just like we're all making each other better, and the coaches are awesome too. There's a lot of coaches to watch out for us and give us the best training.
You certainly need that if you're going to obviously improve yourself as a fighter. Who are some of the people that coach you, and who are some of the people you train with?
That I did train with, or that I do now?
That you do now, sorry.
Right now, I've been training with, for this fight, I've been sparring Hector Lombard a little bit. I've been doing a lot of sparring with Mike Brown. I've been training with Ryan Quinn. He fights the day after me for Bellator. I've been sparring a lot with Will Brooks. He's fighting for Bellator soon. He's I think he's in the tournament or something. He's fighting Don Alessio for Bellator. I mean, there's so many guys. It's hard for me to like single out a handful of them, but it's just like a bunch of monsters. Like Diego Lima's down here training with us right now. I got to work with him a little bit. He's on the same card as me, so we're kind of peaking at the same time. It's just a lot of guys.
Yeah, I mean, the names you mentioned there are all impressive. Now, like you say, you've got a big fight coming up in a few weeks. You're facing a guy called Ian Stevens. Now, he's not been fighting obviously as long as you, and he hasn't got the experience that you've got. How do you feel about Ian Stevens as an opponent? What threats does he bring to you?
I think that he's like a really, really strong guy, and he's probably got a tough mindset just because he's a wrestler. I just think wrestlers have a tough mindset. Like they're hard to like stop and get them to keep get them to stop coming forward and just grinding you out. So I think he's going to try to like take me down and just grind me down and hold me down. But really, I don't think he's going to be able to do that. This is a really good matchup for me because I've got a big striking advantage because he's kind of new to the striking. And then if he, like, his strength falls right into my strength. So if he can take me down, like you said earlier, I finished every one of my fights, and I've got 10 submissions out of my 16 wins. So I think I'll be able to armbar him or triangle him or get him in some kind of submission. Like, I'll take whatever he gives me, but he's not going to be able to stop the onslaught submission. So I've got waiting for him. So yeah, he's going to try to take me down and hold me down, maybe kind of do something like Askren did to me, but I'm a totally different fighter now, and I'm a lot better off my back. So I'm excited for the challenge.
Now, I know we obviously don't like to look too far ahead, and this is going to be a tough fight, but XFC have certainly stacked the welterweight division. Have you got your eye on anybody you'd like to fight in the future in the division?
I'm sorry, the phone cut out. I didn't hear what you repeat the question, please.
Yeah, sorry. I know that you obviously don't like to look too far ahead. You've got a big fight coming up in a couple of weeks, but the XFC have put quite a lot of work in stacking their welterweight division. Have you got your eyes on anybody that you'd like to face in the future?
I mean, nobody in particular. I'm just focusing on Ian Stevens right now. I don't want to look past him because if I look past him, then he could definitely defeat me. So I'm just trying to focus on him. And like you said, it's stacked. There's a lot of studs. So I'm willing to fight anybody. It doesn't matter.
And how long would you like to see before you were given a shot at a title within XFC?
As long as it takes. You keep putting them in front of me, and I'll keep taking them down and beating them. And whatever. That's up to Prisco to figure all that stuff out. I'm just here to beat up the guy that he puts in front of me.
I think that's a great attitude. I really appreciate you giving me your time today, Ryan. It's been a real pleasure having the chance to speak with you. Before I let you go, I'd like to give you a chance to do some shout-outs. Do you want to shout out any sponsors, any people that have helped you get where you are today, people that are helping you train, obviously, for the fight, and let people know about your Facebook and your Twitter as well?
Yeah. All right, thanks. Thanks for that. Let me thank a couple of my sponsors: Gold Rush Pawnbrokers, Skin Deep Tattoo, and then KCMDistribution.com. They provide me with all the supplements and everything to help keep me strong and healthy. And then a couple more of my sponsors are Affordable Construction and Restoration, the Business Card Shop. They made my website for me, which is thetankengine.net, and they sell business cards and stuff for real cheap too. So check them out. And then a couple more, Modern Fighting Systems and Central Illinois Family Practice. And if you would, follow me on Twitter. My Twitter is at Ryan Tank Thomas. And then I also have a Facebook fan page. It's you just type in like Ryan the Tank Engine Thomas, and then that will come out my Facebook fan page. So, hey guys, thanks for giving me the time to talk about my fight, and I hope you guys don't miss. It's going to be a really, really stacked card on September 6th for the XFC. You're not going to want to miss this. Everybody's going to be talking about it after it's over.
I agree. Thank you very much, Brian. It's been a real pleasure.
All right, thanks, guys. Bye.
Bye. Okay, we're now joined by Stephanie Eggink. Stephanie will be fighting for the Strawweight title at XFC 25, facing Angela Magana. Thank you very much for joining us today, Stephanie.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
My pleasure. Now, I obviously want to talk about the fight. It's a huge fight, a huge event. But before we do that, I just want to get a little bit of your background. Now, when I was doing a bit of research, I noticed before you did mixed martial arts, you had a little bit of a background in boxing. So what did you do in boxing?
I was really into USA boxing, amateur boxing. I was pretty heavy into that. I was on the USA boxing team. I won nationals in 2007, so then that put me on the team, and got to travel with the team and fight in the Pan American Games, and that was a really cool experience. And after that, I went pro, and and had a couple pro matches before I walked into an MMA gym and fell in love with jiu-jitsu, and wanted to start seeing what that had to offer me. So yeah, rest is history, I guess.
What was the transition like going from boxing to mixed martial arts, and especially learning the jiu-jitsu?
Honestly, the going to the ground wasn't the hard part. It was the in-between, so the wrestling stuff. Standing up, and then once it's on the ground, I feel just as comfortable as when I'm standing up. But, it's the clinching and the wrestling. I'm a boxer, so I like to keep my distance, and I stand upright. Where wrestling, I need to be lower, and it was that part is I'm still ironing out some of those wrinkles. So I definitely wouldn't say my transition is over at all. I still have some boxing habits that I'm trying to break, but yeah.
Are you glad that you made the move then from boxing to mixed martial arts?
Some days. I miss boxing. I love boxing. It'll always be my favorite sport. I would like to continue competing in boxing, professional boxing. I'm living in South Dakota, training with Shayna, so there's not a lot of opportunity up here for boxing, but we will probably end up moving, to the West Coast at some point, and hopefully I can get back into the ring, because, like I said, that's my love is boxing.
Yeah, I was going to say, would you look to do both? Could you compete in boxing and mixed martial arts?
Yeah. My last pro fight, I was also competing amateur MMA at the time. My coach didn't really like it. My boxing coach didn't like it, I'd say. There's definitely older mentality in, older boxing gyms that they don't really care for the cross-training of the two. But it definitely changes you as a fighter. You don't fight the same once you've been training MMA at all. MMA is a completely different animal. So when you've been doing that consistently, you're not going to box the same. But I think that actually might be beneficial for me. I'm definitely more aggressive now.
So with regards to MMA then, do you prefer to fight stand-up, or do you prefer to fight on the ground, or don't you have a preference?
I don't even care. I really don't care anymore. I feel really comfortable on my back, or any position on the ground now. A lot of my fights, the triangle is always there for me, and pretty much all my amateur fights too. So, I feel just as comfortable there as I do standing up. The in-between stuff is still, I'd rather have one or the other. I don't really care for messy clinch, but if I had to pick, I would probably go back to standing up. But really, either place, I feel dominant right now. So.
You say there about the in-between stuff, then is that the bit where you feel you need to focus on to strengthen up the in-between bit, the clinching, and the bit before it goes to the ground?
Yeah, training with Shayna has definitely helped me with that, with catch wrestling, and because that's her thing. So moving up here, my wrestling has gotten a lot better, and I feel comfortable now. Where before I was just like, I have no idea what to do, so I'm just gonna try to get out of the situation. Where now I know how to keep control, and I feel okay, but still learning every day.
Yeah, you're always learning. There's always a lot to take in, but as long as you're learning, you're getting better and better, and that's showing as your MMA career's moving on. I mean, you're on a 2-fight win streak. You've won your last two, or you've won your 2 XFC fights. How did the opportunity come about to fight for the XFC?
I trained at Gracie Tampa for a couple of years, and the XFC is out of Tampa, and my coach knew John Pritzko, and he came in one day and watched me spar, and we had been in contact, and then, he offered me that 5-fight deal, which took me by surprise. I was expecting, maybe a 1-fight deal, see how I do, then maybe a more, 3-fight deal, but, the 5-fight deal was definitely a surprise. It was awesome, especially, fighting for a title now. I'm only 3-1, and I'm fighting for a title, so it's a great opportunity.
Is it nice to have that security to know that you've got these 5 fights with such a well-known promotion?
Yeah, definitely. Especially promotion that, it's on TV. My family in Alaska can watch me fight. It's really cool. It's not like a small show where, nobody really hears about it. It's out there. It's definitely out there in the media. So, it's a blessing to fight for them.
I think it's fair to say as well, XFC are great at promoting their fights and their fighters. Now, there's recently, within the last couple of years, we've started to see a big boom in women's mixed martial arts. What are your thoughts on the growth of women's mixed martial arts, and what's it like to be part of that?
Like I said, I train with Shayna, and she will tell you some stories of when she first started fighting MMA, and I can't even imagine that, people 20 pounds different in weight classes just deciding to fight that same day at the event. It's come so far, and just now it's starting to get people's attention, where before it was, let's put a women's fight on the card to get guys to want to come watch our show, where now it's, the women are the fight of the night, it's just beginning. With the 135 getting into the UFC, now even more people are gonna, because let's be honest, the average fan only watches the UFC. They don't, that's the one they know about. So having more people just watching the talent of women is going to do a lot for the sport. So it's great.
Yeah, you mentioned UFC, but you've obviously got Invicta FC are doing great, having a women's promotion, and XFC. I mean, not only are you've got women now fighting on the card, but you're now headlining the card as well, which is great to see that the promotions are giving the women the good opportunities to go out there and prove themselves, isn't it? To see them actually headlining an event, which is good.
Yeah, I mean, the last time I was on the XFC, it was the co-main event. The one before that, it was the feature bout. Now I'm the main event, so it's awesome. I mean, there's nowhere to go but up. So.
Now you mentioned there about the title, of course. You'd be fighting for the Strawweight title. Like you say, you're 3-1. Was it a surprise to be offered the title fight? And talk us through how that came about and how you felt when you were offered.
It was a surprise, but at the same time, I think, maybe I might be wrong, but I think that that I was expected to lose to Heather Clark, and I think that she was going to be the one fighting for the title, but I didn't lose, and he had to offer it to me. Who else was he going to offer it to? So if you look at me and Angela Magana's records, there's a big difference, obviously, in time in the cage, but I think I'm more than up for the challenge. I don't feel intimidated by it at all. I've in my amateur boxing career, when I went to nationals, I was fighting girls that had way more fights than me. I fought Jennifer Hahn, and she had like 80 something fights, and I always had under 10. So the numbers aren't that important. So I mean, it's not intimidating per se, but it's a little intimidating.
That was the next thing I was going to talk about, actually, because she has obviously got quite a bit more experience than you. She's her current record is 11-5. Do you just look at that as more fatigue that you can find in that to find the weaknesses for when you compete against her in a couple of weeks?
Yeah, I'm a better athlete overall. I know that. I think I'm stronger than pretty much any girl in the 115 division. I'm really big for 115, so I feel really confident in that area. And but athleticism aside, I don't really see any area that she would be dominant over me other than experience. And experience can only get you so far. So we'll see.
One of the things I noticed as well when I was looking at her resume, that she's never been stopped by TKO or KO. So can you be the first person to do it, obviously with your boxing background?
I would much rather submit her than knock her out. I think that submissions are a much more dominant. Anyone can get caught with a punch, but I don't know, it takes something special to catch someone in submission. And so I'm going to be happy as fast as the fight ends. Honestly, that's what I see happening anyway. Anytime I've been put on my back in any MMA fight I've been in, I've threaten the person in a submission or finish them in one. So that's how I see the fight ending, with me submitting her.
I mean, she's got quite a few submission wins herself, but she's also got a few submission losses as well. So you feel that's a weakness you can exploit. You can catch her with a submission.
I think so. I know I'm going to be stronger and tougher than her, and I don't think her catching me in anything. I train with one of the best female grapplers in the world every single day, and I'm feeling really confident about all of the aspects of my game, especially my submissions and my ground game right now. So
it's certainly going to be a fantastic fight. Now, we talked a little bit about women in mixed martial arts, and we talked a little bit about the XFC, of course, and they've put quite a lot of growth into women's MMA. What's the talent pool like in your weight class? Do you see a lot of people coming through that future people you could be competing against?
Yeah, well, he's definitely John Prisco is definitely stacking the weight classes now. He's bringing in some really good 125ers too, which after who knows, that might be where I go back again. Like I said, I'm 5'8", so 115's a stretch for me. But he just in the past year, he's brought in a whole bunch of really talented girls. So whoever he puts in front of me, I don't know who would be up, who I would fight next. I know Heather Clark and Brianna are fighting each other, so maybe the winner of that would challenge me to a rematch. I'm not sure what's in the cards, but we'll see.
After taking the 115 title, would you like to take a 125 and maybe hold 2 bouts?
Yeah, that's actually something I've talked to my coaches about. That I'm not weak when I fight, but I could be stronger. I'm not, I have to control how much muscle I put on because of having to cut. And if I didn't have to do that, I would be a beast at 125. I miss fighting at that weight. That's what I fought all in boxing, and I definitely think I could hold the belt in both weight classes, and that would be awesome. So we'll see.
I think that'll be absolutely amazing. Well, I wish you all the luck. I know we're a few weeks out. It's going to be a fantastic event and obviously a fantastic main event as well. And thank you very, very much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. Feel free to contact me after I have the belt for a post-fight interview. Oh,
I will. I've added you on Facebook now, so I'll be able to contact you on Facebook. Before I let you go, I want to give you a chance to do any shout-outs. You want to shout out any sponsors, shout anyone that's helped you get here, friends, family, coaches, and also let people know about your Facebook and your Twitter as well.
You can follow me on 00 Snowflake on Twitter, or you can follow me on Stephanie Snowflake Eggink on Facebook. Definitely want to shout out to my management team, GBH Management, along with Anthony Hopkins and Sam Wilson. They've been awesome for the past 3 fights. They've been awesome. I have a few sponsors right now that are my main sponsors that have been giving me everything that I need for this fight. CMP Performance Supplements, American Knockout Wear, and Amber Sports Gear for this fight particularly have been amazing. So shout out to them. Oh, and I'm supposed to tell you that Shayna says hi.
Thank you very much.
She wanted me to tell you that.
Thank you. Well, we wish you all the luck. It's a couple of weeks out, and I'll certainly be contacting you again. We'll get you back on the show. You can give us a winner speech.
Sounds good.
Cool. Speak to you soon then, Stephanie. Good luck.
All right. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Okay, I hope you enjoyed listening to those interviews. There were 4 great guests. As always, we're back again next week. Guests to be confirmed. And as always, make sure you follow us on Twitter. We are at MMA Mental, and our sponsors are at UKFW and at UFC_live. Thank you very much for listening.